It's against Britt Baker and her sidekick lady, the cheerleader lady, because she can't wrestle either. So putting her in a ring against Vicky is it kind of makes sense to me. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
Start the show.
Let's do it.
Start the show, baby.
It's the sports program on TSPN with Derek, Zach, and Sean, who's been here the whole time. Head over to timespentpoorly.com and give the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and help move this show into more people's suggested lists. This show is also streamed live on many platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on an opportunity to chat in and give the guys a piece of your mind during the broadcast. Want to support the show? Great! Go to patreon.com/timespentpoorly to see how you can do that. And now it's my pleasure to bring you the hosts of the sports program on TSPN, Derek, Zach, and Sean.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Saturday, sans Sean.
No Sean, and he was never here, and he was never on the show.
Here and he's not in the intro. No, Sean is just out today. He's at a wedding. That's a fun time. Speaking of wedding, a little shout out to Andy King.
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, it's today.
He's probably still watching.
Our sweet baby boy.
He's probably still watching.
Getting married down. Congrats. He's a good lad.
He is he's too nice. He's been too supportive of us for too long.
Yeah. So good dude. And football's coming up. Football's coming soon. I mean, sooner than we all. I'm starting to see stuff, when the media starts hitting and you're like, I'm seeing practice stuff now. I'm seeing interviews. I'm like, okay.
It's not just Aaron Rodgers anymore, but it's still a lot of Aaron Rodgers every day.
All Aaron Rodgers, but it is a lot of Aaron Rodgers.
It's still pretty much just Aaron Rodgers. I was watching. I watch Get Up, or I used to when I was awake at that time. The new job, I'm not, or I'm doing other things. I'm just not home anymore. I'm not glued in front of the TV for the first hour I'm awake anymore, is what I should say. But I have watched a little bit of it this week. I just watched the re-recording of it, or really listened to it, and they care so little about the NBA Finals and so much more about Aaron Rodgers, and Cleveland Browns are getting a lot of hot takes. And that's how it was last year too, right? Every time the Browns add a new player, or some Odell Beckham's not hurt anymore, anytime anything happens that's remotely newsworthy, we have to have talks of is Cleveland ready to take that next step? And I don't know why everyone wants to anoint them next, they are NXT.
Yeah.
But they're the team that's next. But they're not. I don't think they are. They're in a division with the Ravens and the Steelers, who are both not going. The Steelers won it last year, right? Even with the skid at the end.
Yeah, they won it.
So
that's going away. That's just not going away. The Ravens are up there still. Cincinnati's bound to be better. I mean, I still
can't be worse.
Yeah, I feel like Joe Burrow could, at least get Carson Palmer successful in Cincinnati.
In today's NFL, he might even be Andy Dalton successful.
Yeah,
he might even.
That'd be a nice little career.
I think he'll be better than Andy Dalton. I'll never anoint someone better than Carson, ever. I refuse. He's my guy. But if you have a quarterback in today's NFL and that's all you have, you're still going to be okay. It's weird. That used to not be the case. Defense wins championships. There's so many ways that they protect quarterbacks, and the way that play calls happen now, the way they call penalties. You can win some games just with a good quarterback, I think.
Yeah.
That being said, they'll probably only win 5 games because someone has to lose the games in that division, right? Like they can't all be above 500.
Yeah.
So it's probably them. It's like the NFC West with Seattle, Arizona, the Rams, 49ers. They're all good teams, but someone's got to lose those games. They're not all going to just like equally beat each other, like 50-50. That would be cool. I would actually love if that happened, especially with the 17th game now, because you can't go 500 anymore.
Yeah.
So we could have a bunch of teams go 9-8 this year, which is so bad for football, by the way.
Yeah.
If a bunch of 9-8 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, it in this last year felt like that already, right? You know,
right.
With the whole
Extra
Washington
team
Football Club and
I forgot they made the playoffs.
Yeah, and they were under 500. Am I correct on saying that? Were they not?
Whoever won that division was under 500.
I think whoever won that division was under 500 because the Giants only had like 6 wins and
they were one game back.
Chance. Yeah. They had
so bad
to take it.
So there's divisions. There's divisions like what are you guys, the AFC East?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's divisions like the AFC where they have 3 teams that could win it all. And then there's divisions like the AF or the NFC East that can't win 8 games. I think Washington's going to be better this year, though. This is exactly my.
Maybe AFC North.
This is exactly my point, though. Oh yeah, AFC East Patriots. I always get the 2 mixed up. I don't know why. I should. We have a sports program we've been doing for 4 years, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, Sean and I, the last time Sean and I did a show without you, we literally talked about how we don't know where anywhere is. Like we've decided if it's east, we just don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
And so we're like how accurate could a show about sports ever be if I can't even find it on the map sometimes.
That was my only job when the show was getting going. Just how someone had to know the shit. Like how many years did this guy play? 10, 15? I'm like, he's in his 4th season.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be here just to hold that stuff down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's the only reason I'm here. I don't even do that anymore, though. I used to like take notes for the show and come with just hard-hitting sports facts, and now I just wake up a little hungover and maybe shower.
Well, I think a lot of it is just due to like the distance now, you know.
Well,
whenever we do a show, it's like catch up also.
Yeah, I don't think people know this when we were doing it on the radio, is that we would run into each other on campus. Like you were working, I was in school. We'd run into each other and we would end up like coming up with ideas just by talking to each other like guys do about sports. Mm-hmm. You know, like we were water cooler talking and then we go, we should talk about this on the show. And then that's how most of the episodes got formulated. And now we're just like, oh, I haven't talked to you since the last time we did one of these. Have you been watching sports? And like, we don't even know if the other person watched any.
No. With that said, though, I have watched one game of the NBA Finals.
It doesn't feel, well, it's only been 2, but it doesn't feel like a finals. You need to watch the whole thing. Like someone said to me last night, I was at a former work barbecue. So it wasn't like a work barbecue. It was a former work barbecue. So all the people who used to work with me, we got together. And someone said to me, like, this is the NBA Finals I care the least about. Not that it's the worst 2 teams, although someone did say to me that they thought Milwaukee was a bottom 5 team to ever make it. And I said, no. You have a short-term memory, my friend, because at one point in time, Allen Iverson's 76ers were in the finals. And he goes, did they win a game? I said, yes, they won. One game. It was the game where Allen Iverson steps over Tyronn Lue after he drains that 3, and he does that cool step over thing that's like legendary. That was the one game they won. Jason Kidd made 2 finals with the Nets, and those Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin teams, Kerry Kittles, everyone's like, who the fuck is that? He was like the 3rd best player on that team, and like people forgot Kerry Kittles was a person. Those teams were dog shit. The original Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker Boston Celtics team made one, and that team was absolute dog shit. That was the worst team that ever made it. Like, to say Milwaukee is in that list, that's 4 teams already. And I just that's spitballing off the top of my head. That's just stuff that I was alive for. But this is a hot take. Worse than every one of those teams, actually. Even worse than the Boston team, which is really fucking bad. Like, I don't know how everyone else was so bad they made it. The very worst team to ever make it is the 07 Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James.
Wow. They
got swept by the Spurs. They scored 70 points a game in that series. They had no right being there. I think the second best player on that Cleveland Cavaliers team, and this is no knock on LeBron James, it's actually a credit to, this whole thing is a credit to Allen Iverson, Paul Pierce, Jason Kidd, and LeBron James. They took the worst teams that ever existed. There's one more. Last year's Miami Heat team. That was just coaching masterful. Like, it was a coaching clinic by Eric Spoelstra and then hard work by Jimmy Butler, because that team was awful. But 07 Cleveland, LeBron James, second best player probably was Zaltrunas Zilgauskas, or maybe like Boogie. What's his name? Boogie Gibson.
Boogie.
He's from Texas. I should know who he is. I don't even know who someone's got to tell me who the second best player on that team was. I hope somebody is watching the show today and can tell me. I don't even want to look it up. Actually, we should look it up. We should look up 07 Cleveland Cavaliers, because that team was so bad and people forget that it happened.
Booby
Gibson.
Gibson. Daniel Gibson, yeah.
Yep, from the University of Texas.
Yep.
Shannon Brown. Drew Gooden might have been the second best player on that team, actually. Larry Hughes was on that team. That was kind of where LeBron fell in love with Damian Jones, who followed him around the entirety of the rest of his career. And he just milked championships. I think in that Miami championship that they won, I think he played 4 minutes the entire thing.
Really?
Got himself a championship. Yeah, that was the smart move. Remember, people did that with LeBron for a while. He brought his guys everywhere he went.
Yeah. Dude, you got to hitch yourself to something you find that's going to be successful, you know?
Yeah, that dude could go and give speeches to anyone working in any industry.
Yeah.
That dude also, I'm pretty sure, is the general manager of the Phoenix Suns now. I'm pretty sure he won GM of the year. That dude is smart.
Yeah.
Because he went out and got Crowder and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
That alone is awesome. By the way, I'm starting to like Chris Paul. Makes me so mad.
I know. I watched that. It was the day the sports stood still or whatever. It was that documentary on HBO Max about COVID last year, and he is the main focus of a lot of it.
Got it. Wow.
And so I kind of liked him from that, because I was like, man, this guy, he seems pretty cool. I mean, I know it. I think you have to get voted into that position, right?
Yeah.
What is he, the president of the union or something like that? Players union?
Yep. Head of the Players Association. I think they just call it the head. You're the head of it.
Head, yeah. So he's the head of that, but he was a big part of the COVID stuff. And so there's a lot of that in the documentary. Seems cool. Also, I'm a sucker for let's give these guys one. Get these guys a ring before they bounce.
So am I. Usually, I even started to like Steve Nash at the end of his career. I even started to like him. And when he started to get
enemy.
That's what people don't realize. Yeah, he was our rival on 2 different teams. He was so good that he made 2 different teams our biggest rival. When he was with Dallas, they were our biggest rival. Then he goes to Phoenix, and they're our biggest rival. We played them, him and Amari Stoudemire, every year once he made that switch. It was inevitable. And then when he started to get hurt and he tried to go to LA, who the fuck steps up then? Chris Paul,
Yeah.
and Blake Griffin. Lob City started to become a thing, and we won the championship against the Heat, right? Really should have won too, but Ray Allen's a bastard. And then the following year, that's the year that we got like Kawhi back, Timmy came back, everyone came back. Timmy's like, I'm going to try to play a couple more seasons. I think I can get a ring. Let's go talk LaMarcus Aldridge into coming. And what happens the following year? First round, Chris Paul knocks us out. After we just went to 2 championships and we had a better team. That was the best team we actually probably had. Now it was the oldest because like Timmy was pretty done after that first final or that last finals win. But they all came back, still had Kawhi. This is before the injury, like the year before, right? So this is the year before he takes them with just LaMarcus, right? Him and just LaMarcus go, and they were up 26 points on the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. The year before that, everyone came back, and we lose to Chris Paul, and people go, why do you hate Chris Paul? And I'm like, people don't forget. People don't forget. If something really bad happened to Chris Paul, and I hope nothing ever does, but if something did, I'd be there, man. I would just be there. I'd be like,
remember that stuff though? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Say Chris Paul broke his leg in a game, and I really hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't break his leg in a game. I'd buy a plane ticket, and I would just sit in a lawn chair in front of that hospital while he recovered, but with like a sign like, please don't. That's me. But people don't forget. It is a dagger in my heart, and it always will be. But I guess moral of the story is same with Steve Nash, since I'm starting to like the guy. Like, he did an interview after the second game. Not right after. It was like on NBA TV with Shaq, who, by the way, wasn't wearing pants, and it was amazing. Because they were like, oh, yeah, by the way, Shaq and Kenny. Like, because TNT isn't doing any more of the broadcast the rest of the way. ESPN has the exclusive rights, which is kind of sad, actually. I think TNT does a better job with the broadcast. But they go, Kenny, Shaq, these are actually your last interviews of this season. Like, you're done. You're done after this. And Shaq goes, yeah. And he just stands up and starts dancing. You realize he's wearing like tidy black boxers, like super scrunched up black boxers. You're getting a lot of leg all the way, the way up. And they're interviewing Chris Paul. Isaiah Thomas is interviewing Chris Paul because there's always been comparisons to him and the original Isaiah Thomas, not the new Isaiah Thomas, the original Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
So they've always got comparisons. And Isaiah Thomas goes, I'm honored to be compared with you. And like Chris Paul's like, shit, man. Like, no, you're a Hall of Famer, 2-time champion. You know what I mean? No way. And he's just so humble, and he's got so many funny remarks. And he's like, oh yeah, I used to watch you. I used to watch Kenny. I used to watch. And then you think he's going to say Shaq too. And he's like, yeah. And Shaq's just a piece of shit. He's like, Shaq would just foul you just to let you know that he was there. You know what I mean? Like, he was an asshole. And it's like, you think he's going to compliment every one of them one-on-one, and then he gets to Shaq and he just like throws him under the bus because he's a little guy. Like, Chris Paul was a little guy, and like Isaiah Thomas was a little guy, and they get that like people like Shaq are the reason it's so hard to be a little guy and win a championship. And I like him. I liked him for all that stuff. But I will say, even with kind of starting to like him, 1, still rooting for the Bucks. 2, ultimately don't care because I've actually paid more attention to Team USA already, and they haven't played a game yet.
Yeah. Okay. So great segue, because I've watched more about this Olympic team. Actually, this is the most I've paid attention to the Summer Olympics in any of the Olympics. I've started getting sucked in with the Sha'Carri Richardson story, which I think is so sad and ridiculous that she doesn't get to do it, and I don't know, all that stuff. But then also with this USA team and seeing everybody who's down there, Damian Lillard. I watched this video today where they had the coaches running back and forth. Even Pop was doing it.
Yep.
If you look at this roster though, for this USA team, this might be one of the best Olympic teams we've ever had.
It's stacked, and even with people pulling out, it's stacked. Yeah, I love all the stuff yesterday with Popovich and Kevin Durant. Like he's like, if he wouldn't have tried out, I would have cried and begged him to come. Uh, and then I also like the stuff with Kevin Love. How everyone said Kevin Love shouldn't make the team. He's 32 now. He only averaged 10 points a game this year. I mean, the Cavs were tanking on purpose. Of course, he only averaged that. He got hurt, and then they're like, sit out as long as you want, because if you're playing, we're going to win games that we shouldn't win, and we need to try to get that number one pick. And I've heard they're aggressively trying to move up for it too. They didn't get it. The Pistons got it, and they're doing what does Cleveland always do? Cleveland's had more number one picks in the last 15 years than any team I can ever remember. They
Could you put that for both, and incredibly put that for both teams too.
Right.
For both major teams.
Yeah, the Browns are the same. I can't think of a team that's had more opportunities to pick first. And both are perfect examples of how you can screw them up. Because sometimes they land, and most of the time they don't. So I've been paying attention to that. Kevin Love is interesting. I don't know if he'll get to play very many minutes, but I do like that Popovich is like, he's here, and I'm going to work him. Like we're going to make him work regardless, even if he never plays a minute. Like we're going to make him prove that he should be here, And
you think he does deserve to be there? I like Kevin Love.
I can't.
You can't hear?
1 second. Sorry about that. Siri thought I was talking to her, so it muted you while Siri was listening. And now because I said her name, Dumb Bitch is probably going to do it again.
No, what I was saying is this is I think he deserves to be there. I actually don't know what I was saying. I don't remember what I was saying.
I can tell you why he's there. Pop wants him.
Oh, Pop.
LaMarcus is gone. LaMarcus is gone. He is recruiting him, and we'll get to the Damian Lillard interviews in a second. But there are some Kevin Love interviews, and he's not playing the same politics. By the way, actually, they're actually kind of both playing the same politics now. They're both being pretty honest, right? They're both kind of saying like, "Okay, I'm going to talk because I'm tired of you guys talking for me." So they asked Cleveland about it. They said, "How does like the general manager in Cleveland feel about Kevin Love going to the Olympics?" And he goes, "We fully support it. Like we want him to be back." They obviously want him back too. We want him back to being old Kevin. That benefits us. They're like assuming that he's going to go get better and come back and provide value. And Kevin is like, he keeps saying, I'm getting better so I can contribute to whatever team I'm on next year. He doesn't. He goes, wherever I play next year, I'm getting better. And Greg Popovich is like, yeah, we'd love to have him. Like it's all about I think it was Bleacher Report released that article yesterday about, do super teams really get formed in the bubble? And by the way, I'm not saying Kevin Love going to the Spurs forms a super team. That would just mean we have one more washed up player on our team. We would just have one more, but he'd be great for us.
He'd be a great leader, though.
Great veteran, especially if DeRozan leaves. But also, we have room for a max contract player, so it would be a way to get DeRozan to stay.
Yeah.
If I'm DeRozan, I don't stay unless you go get at least one more pretty good player.
I can see DeRozan and Love working well together, too.
Well, because here's the problem right now is that DeRozan all of a sudden became like a point forward type of guy where he plays the point guard. He distributes. He almost had 10 assists a game this year. He doubled his average on assists per game. But it would have been even higher if people were making their damn shots. He would drive and dish, and then the next guy up was like, I don't shoot threes good either. Like, why did you give me this ball? I can't shoot it from here. And then it's kind of like, then why are you standing in that spot? If that's not a spot that you want to catch and shoot from, don't be waiting there for the ball. But like that's how you have to play in today's NBA, right? And Kevin Love, if he posts up in that corner and DeRozan drives and sucks in the defense, Kevin Love is going to have the best season he's had in 5 years. Anyways,
because he can shoot.
Because he'd be our best shooter the day one he got there.
Yeah.
Like we were getting to the point where before LaMarcus like left and then obviously had to retire, like we were getting to the point where he was our best guy. That he had never played that role for any team before. In Portland, he never sat at the 3-point line. Like it's like a Brook Lopez thing, right? Like Brook Lopez became that for the Bucks. I think it's totally okay having your biggest guy out on the court be that dude. Anyways, Kevin Love, huge fan of the show. I know that, so I'm just trying to pepper in how good of a fit he'd be. I'm going to send him the clip.
Yeah.
We'll have Ward do it in post.
Yeah.
Ward will get the clips.
Or can you get that to Kevin Love directly? I don't. You might have
You
connection.
have contact, right? You have the contact. Get it to his team. Get it to his team. I know he's got a team. Get it to his teim. Make sure he sees it today. Make sure no time wasted. We want to sign him by the time that the NBA Finals are over. When it's illegal to tamper with that kind of stuff. We want him today. So there's Kevin Love, and then there's Damian Lillard, who has also finally spoken up in a couple of interviews.
A little bit, yeah.
And that's because I think when he was being quiet, people were implying that he wanted out, right?
Yeah, and so he kind of went and talked on that a little bit, on just putting words in his mouth, and then more just said he'll show up every day to do his job, and that's what he does, and so he's not leaving, but I do think he is, I do think he really wants to work with Chauncey Billups, though.
I think anyone should. The thing is I know Chauncey went and did the broadcasting stuff for a little bit, and he did the ESPN's analyst stuff for a little bit. But the scuttlebutt is the word on the street is that last summer he just spent the whole thing picking Ty Lue's brain, who has now been anointed. He's next. He's NXT. I'm gonna see how many times I can get that out today. Yeah. He's next, man. Everyone's saying Ty Lue's now the next hot coach because of what he can do, and I think that Chauncey kind of learning under him. Maybe Steve Nash should have done that.
Yeah.
I think that Steve Nash has the great potential to be the coach. He's not right now. He just was here's what I would do if I was still playing. And that's kind of how he approached this season. Or he approached it there's too many big names on this team. Just go do your thing. And if you guys do your thing, maybe it'll make me look good. But I think he needs to take ownership of that. I think he needs to make the tough decisions next year, even if he's wrong, because he's got to learn. Ty Lue learned the hard way, right? Ty Lue was an assistant in Boston. Then he went and coached LeBron, who I don't know how you can coach LeBron. And then now he has to really coach because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard do not try to take over. Neither one of them are going to talk. So they're not going to tell you no, I'd rather do this. You have to. So Ty Lue is the guy now.
Yeah. Kawhi and Paul George want to be coached.
Right. I think so does Damian Lillard, actually. Weirdly, for a guy who's as good as he is, I think he wants someone to come in and actually – they have two guys who are pretty much the same player. Him and CJ are kind of the same guy.
Yeah.
Which – and I've been wanting to do this on the show for a month, which is why they have to get rid of CJ. The media wants us to believe they're getting rid of Lillard because that's a hotter take, right? That gets more eyes on the story. Could Lillard go to New York? I think that's where a lot of people are saying, now, could Lillard go to New York in this blockbuster trade? I think they trade CJ, and I know someone said Ben Simmons, which is interesting because you guys do need defense.
Yep.
But for me,
and good passing as well.
For me, you get someone along with CJ. Maybe it's Big Daddy Nurk. You get him and Nurk in a deal, and you send him for Paul George, because I think Paul George and Damian Lillard are the perfect combo together. That it does add defense. You're getting an elite wing, which is way more important these days than any other defensive position, and a guy who likes to be number two, right? We learned from Paul George that he always is going to cower to the superstar. Although I liked him as a one those last couple games. So I don't know. We can't have in Portland. We cannot have the same guy twice anymore. We can't have the CJ and Damian thing has officially proven not to work. But keep everyone else. Powell is awesome.
Covington, I'd say keep.
Covington needs to keep starting. Powell needs to keep starting. I like what's his name off the bench. You guys, the center.
Cantor.
Cantor.
Yeah, and that's I like Cantor as well.
Is Collins still around? Is he going to come back? Is he ever going to be a healthy boy again?
He's on the team, man, but I don't know. He's had the same shoulder injury, and I don't know, man.
That's a bummer because him and Cantor off the bench with Simmons and Melo. You have a whole second rotation if you guys get Melo back and Simmons back. And Also, here's another hot take. You get rid of CJ Simmons can slither into that spot in the starting role, which is what it kind of seemed like they wanted to do anyways. I mean, they got rid of what's-his-name to Toronto and for Powell, and we were like, why? And then you see like how good Simmons is, and you're like, oh, that's why. They knew who was next. They knew who was NXT.
Yeah, they did. Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Again, it's one of those instances where they know definitely more than what we all know.
We've said it so many times.
Yeah,
on the show.
They know more than what we know. You consistently, we watch something, we go, man, why would they do that? And then like the Steelers are the biggest way. That's the biggest proof. They know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm dumb, and
we get on the show. We get on the show every weekend, and it's not us. It's also like people in like the comment sections, right? They're like, I can't believe this fucking idiot did this. And you're like, well, he gets paid millions of dollars to make this decision. And he has a team of like scouts and other people that also get paid millions of dollars. And maybe they know. Also, maybe the team that's won now the second most championships out of any other team, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers know, because they always make the right hire. They always make the right trade. 2 years ago, they traded that first-round pick for the safety, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why did you do that? First-round picks are so valuable. What a waste. And then immediately provided value. By year 2, probably their second or third best defensive player. And guess what? Guess what's better than a first-round pick? A guy who has the talent of a first-round pick. A guy, if you go, oh, wow, if we knew he was going to be this good, we would have drafted him in the top 10 of the draft. That is who you want. You don't want to guess every year, although the Steelers guess better than anyone else does, right? Like their picks seem to always work for the most part.
With the exception of, I'd say, quarterback has always been the
Kyle Rudolph,
yeah. It's always been the weakest part of that team. I mean, I'm like we're really lucky that we've had the Ben era, because prior to Ben was rough,
right?
And basically between Bradshaw and
Maddox and who else? Who Maddox was in between that. Cordell Stewart was in between that.
After Bradshaw, there was just like a window, just a pretty big window of just darkness.
O'Donnell,
and took him to the Super Bowl and then lost. What a loser! And he didn't. It was the defense took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he actually wasn't that bad. What's funny? When Steve McNair got hurt in Tennessee, he came in and also did the same stuff. Like, he won games. So he was like one of those guys where even if he won games, people thought he was bad. There's like certain players that are that way. There's players in the NFL right now who like win games, but like that team's like, oh, I can't wait to replace him. This quarterback has only won game. Alex Smith was that way his whole career. Alex Smith's like, oh, I win games. And they're like, yeah, but I can't wait to replace you.
I'm excited for football season though, and even though the games might be good, I'm disappointed in the playoffs. So it's made me maybe a little bit more excited for football to start.
The NBA playoffs, I think there was some good games.
Yeah,
I think the Clippers single-handedly in those last 2 series made it exciting because they just wouldn't go away. And last year we kind of had that with Denver, right? Like they came back from 2-3-1s, and there's certain teams that make it exciting. But as a whole, the last 2 years have we're coming full circle. This is how the show started. The last 2 years have produced some of the worst matchups in the finals that we've seen. This year isn't as bad as last year, though. The Lakers were so much better than the Heat last year. I still don't necessarily think the Suns are so much better than the Bucks.
No.
The Bucks were down 0-2 last series, too, and they came back and won it. I don't think they're out. A lot of people are telling me sweep, that it's a sweep. Any show you watch, it's a sweep.
I think the Bucks will probably get at least one. I do think the Suns will win. And I guess I'm a little biased. I might want the Suns to win too. Just like I said, Chris Paul get him one, and it's cool that but 2 teams that no matter who wins, like we haven't seen it in a long time or ever.
Yeah, I think the Bucks were the only team out of the last 4 teams: the Hawks, the Bucks, the Clippers. They were the only team out of the 4 that's ever won a championship. They won one in 1971.
Forever.
And that's it. Yeah. So that's what's kind of cool about the last 5 years of the NBA, though, is that like the Raptors got there first. This year, the Suns are going to get there first. They're not sweeping, guys.
No.
I'm going to keep saying it, even when I'm wrong, because I've been wrong the entire playoffs about the Suns, and they're going to keep proving me wrong. They're like the one thing I was super wrong about. Chris Paul is still the same Chris Paul that he's always been. He's good. He's still really good.
He's still good.
Devin Booker is next. He's NXT, man. He's the guy.
He's so good.
He's just the guy.
Yeah. Man.
And he may be the best pure 3-point shooter in the game. He may be like the next Klay Thompson, like he may be NXT Klay Thompson, but he also I can go all day with these.
I think you should.
But he wants to get closer.
Yeah.
I want that mid-range jumper because if I get there, I'm going to hit it like Kobe every time. That's what's cool about him because he's not NXT Klay Thompson. He's NXT Kobe.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying it, and I didn't want to believe it, and I was never going to admit it. And he's 24, and he's already doing what Kobe was doing.
Yeah.
And it's just it was bound to happen. And I think the main thing is that it was in Phoenix, so I didn't want to admit it. It was kind of like Giannis in Milwaukee. I was like, he's okay, you know. And now he's on like the main stage and putting up 42 points, and they're still losing. Middleton's the problem, by the way. When Middleton is kind of like their Paul George. When Giannis is gone, Middleton steps up and becomes that 30-point a game guy, and then when Giannis comes back, he has the occasional big game, but not a lot. He kind of is okay being second fiddle. So what's cool about Phoenix though is like neither of those guys really back down to the other one. It's just like you're doing good, then I'm doing like what are we getting? They're both smart enough to know like what is the defense giving us, and like this might be your 5-minute run, and then the next 5 minutes it's all me, and it's good basketball to watch. I gotta admit, like that's why they've really won me over. Is it's when you watch the two teams, and this is probably why people are thinking sweep. When you watch the two teams, they look much better, like noticeably better. I don't know if it's just because it was in Phoenix, but they look noticeably better. Which leads me to believe that I'm wrong. That's what leads me to believe that I'm just so wrong about this team still, because they're winning, and they might win again next year. And
they're a good team.
And they might win again the year after.
I will say that they're not my team, but I do like that it started off with the bubble run last year, you know, to be like, you know, they had that crazy run.
And that was without Chris Paul. That's what I'm telling people. Like they were
Chris Paul.
They were next either way, I think. I think Booker was just in line. Like he was just waiting. Like he's like, oh, I'm in line.
Oh, I like Ayton also.
That's where I was wrong because I thought he was a bust, and I didn't like him. I didn't like him because he wasn't a Spur, because he would have been a great Spur. And so then when he got drafted by Phoenix, I'm like, oh, this guy can go fuck himself. And he's pretty good. And he's like, oh, I like that Chris Paul's mean to me. Like I like that he bosses me around.
He's kind of funny too. He's got a funny social media presence, or just his team stuff is always kind of silly. Like
they should have put him in Space Jam. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm not excited for the team. It's just I'm not. You know, the Suns are my team, but I am excited for the circumstance. I think the guys are likable.
He might turn into everything that like Joel Embiid wanted to be, but Joel can't get away from the heel. Like Joel Embiid embraces the heel too much. What Ayton's working his way into is maybe being like the next like Kareem, not skill wise, but like Kareem got to be in movies, right? Like he did like
there you go.
The Bruce Lee stuff. He was in the 2 weeks ago's Dave episode, which was amazing. Like he was so good in it. Like he was the highlight of the episode. And I think that like Ayton's going to be one of those guys. Like if they win a couple, he's going to become really likable. By the way, I'm already annoyed. And I got to talk about this. I'm already annoyed that there's already new Phoenix fans. Like every time a new every time a new team is NXT, right? Like, remember Golden State? By the first championship, everyone was all of a sudden, oh, I've always liked Golden State. Now the Phoenix fans are like, oh yeah, I actually lived in Phoenix for like a year when I was in like 8th grade, and then my parents moved me back to Lewiston, so that's my team.
Would you say that their fan base is rising from the ashes?
Like a phoenix?
Like a phoenix?
Like the bird
like
and hair.
Mythical bird. Phoenix.
Yeah, that's actually how the town got its name.
So, they weren't there, but now they're in the championship, so now they're rising from the ashes.
It is 100% the Carolina Panthers when Cam Newton got into that Super Bowl. Yes. It is 100% the same people who like that team. And 4 years from now, we'll never hear from them again. All of these guys are going to be, I don't even like basketball, or they'll be a fan of a different team.
Yep.
But probably the I didn't even like basketball thing. That's probably where they're going to be at.
I would be okay with bandwagoning if they would stick with the team they bandwagon with.
Afterwards.
Yep. Yeah, afterwards. So,
like, guys, I bandwagoned the Spurs when I was 9 years old, and now we're terrible, and I'm stuck with them for the rest of my life.
I hopped on the Steeler bandwagon when I was a little kid, like in my house, but I stuck with them through thick and thin. And then the Blazers, we decided that team for my team on this show. That's the biggest bandwagon I've ever done. It was a public one.
Yeah, we voted. At least they didn't win the championship the year before you picked them, though.
That's true. But now I'm with them thick and thin.
Man.
This last year I just bandwagoned with the Nets. I'll keep paying attention to them afterwards.
No. Everyone's going to leave eventually. Like, everyone will be gone. Like, Steve will be gone. KD will be gone. Kyrie will be gone. Harden will be gone. And then you're just stuck with the old Nets.
But then that will be vintage at that point, so that's fun.
That's true. Who else? I'm trying to think if I ever...
You're right, though. Yeah.
You're stuck with Portland.
Yeah, you got to be stuck with them. Well, I mean, but geographically, it's easier to be stuck with them.
By the way,
everybody leaves the Nets. I'm not interested anymore.
By the way, if you think about the teams that were on your list, you really fucked up. Because like Phoenix was on that list, Utah was on that list. Basically, every team that's like slightly better than Portland, like every team that was on that list has had a better last 2 years than Portland. And Portland still made the playoffs both years. But every other team has been better. Because Dallas was on that list too, right? Dallas was on there also.
Yep, Dallas was also on there.
Lakers were on there, but they were like, we just put them on there because we wanted to see if people voted them in.
Yeah.
And you like LeBron. But then they won a championship the very next year. So
I'm glad the Lakers didn't happen. But I still like LeBron.
At least they didn't pick the Spurs. Because remember, we put them on there just for fun. They were like the first team voted off.
Yeah, we put them on there for fun. I think we had the Celtics on there too. Oh, and the Bulls.
Oh, yeah, it was a huge list. So never mind. It could be worse. You could be a Bulls fan.
That's true.
That's like the worst thing to be in the NBA, man, because they're just always going to be okay. They're always going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's rough. Or a Sacramento Kings.
But at least that's fun.
They're endearing, though.
They're fun, yeah.
They're enduring. Like, they're endearing. They have a great fan base. And their social media is great also.
But that's what would drive me nuts, man. Because I know people that are closet Suns fans and they won't admit it. And they're going to have a good year eventually. Everyone does. Everyone gets their turn to be NXT. And then when that happens, these guys are all going to be like, I've always liked them and I always have. And I'm like, then you need to be loud and proud, brother, when even when they're bad.
Be mad. That's how I do baseball.
You're just always mad.
I'm a Mariners fan. I'm mad at them. We had a great start again. Went as planned. It's actually been a fun year if you look at it going exactly as planned. It's always highlights though. I mean, like Seager's amazing and Haniger's amazing, and
they're a great young defensive team.
Yeah, they're still fun to watch. I mean, I don't really give a shit if they win at this point. They're just a fun team to like. They're also kind of like just one of those teams. They're not going to win anything, but it's fun to watch them.
And my team, if the Braves win today, we're finally.
Oh,
it's been waiting all season for us to get to 500.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to happen, man.
That's great. Uh-oh. Our internet's getting bad.
Is it mine or yours?
Not sure.
I'm cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out on my end.
Okay, I think it's mine. Well, then I think the only other thing to talk about today is that I need to do my picks.
Let's do your picks. So UFC, what is it tonight?
264. Poirier, McGregor.
Hold on real quick. Just going to try that real quick, see if it helps.
Yeah, I actually haven't set up. That's what I was doing. I ran to my old house to grab my actual modem, and I have those like Echo Dots. I haven't set them up yet. I'm still using the one Sparklight provides you, which is absolute dog shit.
Yep.
It's so bad. You'll get like 400 download speeds, and then like 10 minutes later, you're getting 15. But this isn't a show about Sparklight internet.
No, that's
and
this show talks about UFC occasionally, and
sometimes once every 6 or 7 months. The last time we talked about it was when these guys had Poirier McGregor 2. Was actually the last time we've talked UFC on this show. I picked Poirier because I am a huge homer, not because I actually thought he was going to win it, and he did. And then I got to act like I knew it all along afterwards. I always knew.
No, these guys though. Now hang tight real quick. I want to jump in here and see if I got a good memory that from your teachings.
Yes.
Okay. So these guys have fought a couple times, correct?
Yes. First time was 10 years ago.
Is this the guy that they had a huge feud, and then the second time they fought, they're all friendly? And now
each other. Connor was like, "I'm going to give $400,000 to your charity."
Okay. So,
like
I watched the weigh-in and stuff now, so I see
from this week.
Yeah. So they're trying to do.
Connor's faking it. I love it. It's a what am I trying to think of?
He's
it's a bit. It's just heat.
A bit.
Yeah, it's just heat though. Like
he's just trying to draw heat like a heel in wrestling.
And he's doing a good job. So he brought out Poirier's hot sauce that he gave him last time, like because obviously Conor McGregor is not using someone's hot sauce for anything. He's not handing it to his personal chef and saying, "Hey, can you put this on whatever I'm eating?" I don't know. Right. Can you put some of this on those snails that we're gonna eat? He's not doing that. So he brought it out and he had presser started, and then he's bringing like Poirier's wife into it, trying to get her. But it's like fake wife stuff. Like you could tell he actually respects her, so he's not going to say anything mean about her. He's just saying that she's the man of the house and how he was talking to her on the phone the day before. That actually,
that's so dumb.
Wife on the phone the day before. Cool, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are getting along. But Poirier kind of had a couple comebacks that were okay. Like he was like making fun of him for. I mean, he knocked him out the last time, so that's an easy low hanging fruit. He was also like, "Come on, man, you used." Like you used to say like really funny, mean stuff, and it's kind of just seems like he's really forcing it. But some of it was good. It's just so this time is way different. He kicked him while they were facing off. Like
that's the one what I saw,
which also seems super fake. Because that whole like hold me back thing is just. What would you do if they didn't? That's my real question to anyone who's being held back. You're not going to fight him early because like then the fight's off. Right. So a month ago,
we're having some technical difficulties.
Oh, I'm cutting out?
Yeah. Froze up.
So in a fight a month ago, if I'm coming through now.
Yep, you are.
The other guy, and the guy, his head went back like that, and then an hour later he goes, "I can't fight tomorrow. I have whiplash from the guy pushing me," and the fight was off. And so like that's what really happens when stuff like this goes down is someone gets hurt and then the fight gets off and then that's millions of dollars you guys are both out of. So Conor wouldn't have done anything if they all would have let go of him. He might have like ran over and screamed in Dustin's face, which is like not the worst thing in the world that could happen. But the Vegas pick here between Dustin and McGregor 3 is barely in Dustin's favor, slightly in Dustin's favor, because some people are buying into that McGregor's fired up and ready to go, and some people think, no, this is just how he has to act to get people to buy this and get like. One thing I know for sure is that Dustin is training 7 days a week still. I know this. The one thing I don't know, we don't know what McGregor's like workouts and stuff are like anymore. We don't know how into it he is. We don't know if this is like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for him anymore, like it used to be. And until we see that, I'm not going to pick him. Yeah, like until we see it, that is not something I'm interested in doing. So I'm going to take Dustin, but deep down in my bones and in my butt a little bit, I feel like McGregor's got a knockout in him, and that's what's scary is that he doesn't need to train that right hand. It's just there. And if it hits you, because he's the faster guy. Here's the thing, though. Dustin is a really well trained, disciplined fighter, great cardio. He's a grinder. He's going to outgrind you every time. And he's knocked out legends of the sport, absolute legends, like Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, like McGregor. He's done all this, but he wears you down before he does it. That's how he gets you there. He gets you worn out. McGregor is faster, a better athlete, a better knockout artist. I actually think that he knows more about mixed martial arts as a whole than almost anybody because he was in love with the game for so long. It's just how much does he practice it now? But that's the thing, is that he is technically just a better person, right? Like if this was a team sport, he would be the better team. The other team just might have the better coach is kind of how I would look at it. So I'm scared for Dustin. I always root for him, and I hope he wins, and I hope he fights for the belt and finally wins the unanimous UFC belt, because he's only ever won an interim title. He's never won the real thing. So I hope that he does. And then there's a couple other pretty interesting fights. Greg Hardy, the former Cowboy, is back. He's already talking shit against people that he's not even fighting today. He's talking shit for his next fight already. And I think he's gotten really good on the mic. And that's what sucks is before he was kind of just a heel because he abuses people. He's an actual bad person. And now that he has enough years where he can legitimately say there's still no proof that I ever did any of that stuff, guys. There's no charges. There's no anything. There was allegations, but it's all gone. He's finally gotten to the point where he can run his mouth as a heel and not be oh, you can't say that, dude, because you really did hit people outside of the cage. He's gotten to the point where he can actually talk crap, and I'll listen. I don't like him. I still watch. I watch him. The reason I watch McGregor, the reason I watch Colby Covington is because I want him to get knocked out. Yeah. And he's going against Tai Tuivasa, who, if you don't know who he is, he's a Australian guy who every time he wins, he does a shoey. Do you know what a shoey is? No. I think it's Australia. It's not New Zealand. Australia, when you take an entire beer, you take your shoe off and you pour your beer into it. This is gross. It's the shoe you've been wearing all day. You pour your beer into it and then you drink the shoe. It's called a shoey. And he's done one after every win he's ever had. And he's even, in football, they do that thing where they'll zoom into Aaron Rodgers when he's at a baseball game and he'll chug his beer. And him and Tom Brady are both really good at it, actually. Yeah. If they find him at a UFC event he's not fighting at, he will be dressed to the nines and he will take off his boot and still do a shoey while he's on camera. It has become his thing. It's weirdly, he's incredibly likable. So this is actually a fight of a really likable guy versus a guy that everyone wants to lose. So it's a perfect matchup. And he's the better fighter too. Greg is probably going to lose. That's what's awesome about it is they kind of set it up for us as fans to keep getting what we want, where Greg is good enough to keep fighting in the UFC, but he's also bad enough to where the best guys are going to knock him out. So it's a win-win for us. He'll be around for a long time and we'll get to keep watching him get beat up. Genius. He's going to be a real life jobber. He'll always be in the organization. You're why does this guy still exist? And it's because someone has to be there to lose. That is him. He is. That's
so brutal, though. I mean, it's so brutal.
He is
It's
in.
not wrestling, you know.
It's real fighting.
Getting punched in the face, and it's like you're jobbing out still.
He's in what I like to call like fighting purgatory. Like he's never gonna feel good about his career at any point, and it's just, and that's the rest of his life, and he deserves it probably if he's as bad as people say he is, and maybe that's exactly what he deserves. So I think he'll lose. The co-main event, I'm going in no order at all, by the way, just like what I feel like talking about. The co-main event is actually the single two nicest people that have ever been in fighting, which is bizarre, by the way. Like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, if you've never watched an interview on him, he was a karate point fighter as a kid. He was like 50-0. Then he did kickboxing for a little bit, and then he got into MMA. One of the interviews when he fought Tyron Woodley twice for the title, and he never ended up winning it. But he is like, Tyron Woodley was doing what he was supposed to do to promote the fight. He was like, man, I'm going to beat you up. Like, I'm better than you. And like saying all this stuff to Steven. And Steven's like, well, I just think this is a great opportunity for me to go out there and like showcase my skills and what I've been working on. It's my job to go out there and like prove that you aren't the best. And then, Tyron says like another mean thing back to him. And then Steven's like, come on, man, you don't have to be so mean. Like literally that's his response. And Tyrone laughs. He's like, shit, you're right. I don't like, I'm faking it. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing what I can to promote the fight. And like, and it's so good because that's just how he is with everybody. Like he's incredibly nice, like almost to a point where he doesn't really put anyone away. Like when you're fighting, you have to have that mean streak when a guy is laying on his back to go over and finish him, right? And he just is like, it's like he's still doing point karate. Like, no, he's like, I'm just trying to get more points than you. And then I win. And because he's that way, he is an absolute terrible matchup for Gilbert Burns today. Because Gilbert's going to want to wrestle him. He's a great jiu-jitsu guy. He's also got great striking. I don't think Steven's ever going to let him close. He's going to point karate. He's going to dance around the ring, and he's just going to accumulate these points. And he's old, man. He's like almost 40. And it's like, I want him, if he wins this, he gets a title shot again. He'll get his last title shot. He'll fight for the belt, and then he'll retire. Win or lose. He'll either win it or he'll lose it, and then he'll say, I'm 40. See you later. But he is the nicest guy. Like, I recommend watching any stuff on him because you're like, not only how is this guy a fighter, you're like, how is this guy an athlete? Like he doesn't even have that like alpha male, like I'm better than you at something type of thing.
One more time.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I sent you a picture of him and Chris Weidman holding each other, like how we do in our photos.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's his brother-in-law. Chris Weidman's the guy who beat Anderson Silva to win the belt back in the day. Anderson Silva broke his leg trying to leg kick him, and then things came full circle 2 months ago when Chris Weidman threw a leg kick and broke his leg, and it was like, wow, 10 years later. He broke his leg the same way that Anderson Silva broke his leg on him. They're like brother-in-laws. And they're like incredibly, he's too nice, and it kind of drives me nuts. And because he's one of those guys you wonder if he's always that way. Like, and if there's a funny story, if it turns out he's not always that way, I guess like when he's in the movie theater and someone brings their kids, he says that's the one time that he'll like say something not nice to somebody, but he doesn't say mean. He says not nice. Like he'll be like, excuse me, like I don't mean to. That's how I imagine it going. Excuse me, I didn't mean to bother you. But like, if you're gonna go to the movies, I know that's like a great occasion for you and your family probably. But like, maybe don't bring your kids if they're gonna be so loud. And it's just a suggestion, and you don't have to listen to me. But it's just a suggestion, and don't bring your kids maybe. And like that's probably how he does it.
And then he walks away, and he's like, whew. Oh God, that took a lot out of him. You know? Oh, he cries. He's like, I'm sorry, I raised my voice, ma'am.
It's 2:00 in the morning, and his wife's like, "Yeah, Steven's just not sleeping well tonight because he had to say that in the movie theater. Like, hey, like, why did you bring your babies to Deadpool? Because someone has to tell you, like, why did you bring 5-year-olds to a Deadpool movie? They don't care, and it's also incredibly violent. But yeah, that's how I imagine it goes. He's awesome. And I do think he wins because he's a bad matchup, and he also just plays it too safe. If I'm being real, he plays it too safe to lose this matchup, I think. And then there is, I always say Aldana's first name wrong, so I'm just not going to say it, versus her name is Yana Kunitskaya. I don't know how I can get her name right. She's like a Russian like grappler, and then Aldana is like this incredibly talented like female striker. And like you can tell she's like, people think that both of these ladies are like incredibly attractive compared to a lot of the like mongoloids that they fight normally.
I'm looking them up right now. That was
and so like, and so this is a win-win for the UFC because whoever wins, they can like, you can put a nice package of wins together for them to give them a shot.
The Kunitskaya, very attractive.
Yeah, and I think Aldana, for me,
I'm going to look at the other one right now.
She's next. She's the one because she is super talented. I don't know if she's good. I think she just lost to Holly Holmes before this, which ended her momentum. I think they were originally using her as like bait, like, oh, she beats Holly, we can put her in a title, but it didn't happen. But this is a win-win for the UFC. They get to highlight both of them on a Conor McGregor card, and whoever wins this is going to have a really good chance for them to package into a title shot.
Aldana is also not bad on the ice.
No, they're both, and she's just her skill set, the way she fights makes it like even more of an appeal to me.
She's exciting to watch too.
Yeah, she's a striker, like a real striker, like a girl with a ton of knockout power. And I think she wins because I think she keeps it on the feet. So I think she takes that one. And then the final one is the new highest man in the UFC, Sean O'Malley. And the guy he was supposed to fight like pulled out like a couple weeks ago. So they kind of had to just go find someone for him. And I do like that he's on another McGregor card because they always give him the McGregor comparison, like he's the next Conor McGregor, right? Like,
oh, cool. And
he doesn't want it. He wants to be like, no, I'm Sean O'Malley. I'm my own dude. I don't want to be the same type of guy.
But he's got colorful. But he also has like colorful hair and.
Yeah, and like he won on the Contender Series, which is like a show that gets you into the UFC, and like Snoop Dogg was still doing the commentating for it, and he's just like, I just want to go smoke weed with Snoop Dogg now that the fight's over. And Snoop Dogg's like, oh, absolutely. And like, that's kind of like, he's just like the UFC's like, he's the American stoner version of Conor McGregor, if there's even like a such thing. Like that's, to me, the Meteoric Rise might be the same, but they're two very different guys. And yeah, he's always got weird hair. He's got like silver hair this week. And before it was like 5 different colors. And it's always, he's fun though.
He sometimes put it in cornrows. I'm looking at pictures of him.
He's really cool though. Like I like him a lot.
He looks fun. He looks fun.
And he's a -900. Like that is the biggest. He is the biggest favorite of the night because he's just getting a random dude. Like they had to give him someone that he didn't want to pull off the card, so they just gave him a guy. So that fight should be very one-sided, but sometimes on these matchups, the other person really takes advantage of the opportunity. I don't think that's going to happen, but it does happen. And that's the entire main card. So this is like the first time I've ever done every main card pick on a show, which is awesome. The only other one I want to say is that the prelims main event is Carlos Condit. It could be the last fight of his career. And if it is, legend, it's the end of an era, because I think that Condit and the Diaz brothers are probably the last 3 guys from when I got into it. So like when I got into it, he was fighting Nick Diaz. He fought GSP for the title. He fought for the interim belt and won it. And the natural born killer, man. He's just the dude. He's like outside of the ring, just, I don't know, seems like a guy you would assume as a cage fighter, but in the ring, he looks like he literally wants to like chew on your leg a little bit. Like he just has this like, he looks like those like kid stories you would ever read, like about like a wolf that would come into like a village and try to eat somebody. Was that. He seems like that dude, and he's super fun. I hope he goes out with a bang. Like I hope he looks like young Carlos Condit, because the last 4 or 5 fights he has looked like like a shell of himself, and that's really sad to see. It's kind of like an old wrestler, right? Like you just like it's like old Taker, man. He's like old Taker, and what's sad is old Taker was in his like 50s, right, or late 40s. This is like this dude's like 35.
Oh man.
And people wonder why Stephen Wonderboy Thompson dances around you in point fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's how he's made it to 30. What with 38 or what?
38. Yeah, you're not making it to 38 if you get in there and like get in a bloody war with people every time. You can't be a big sweaty man and just. Actually, some of the big sweaty men do last a little longer. Like Brock could probably still get in there at like 43, but
oh sure.
That's only because he would take steroids before.
Well, he would also take steroids before he went in there.
He would also take steroids and not care if the decision gets overturned because he's like, guess what? You already bought the pay-per-view and I already made $10 million. So
he didn't care. He probably knew that was going to happen. In fact,
I think he did. I think he knew there was no way he was getting it out of his system, and he just went like $10 million. He's like, I do fake stuff for a living.
Yeah,
and they want me as buff as possible. Like Vince wants a big sweaty man, and I need to give him a big sweaty man.
And they clearly have different rules than
yeah, just look good. Your only goal is to look good because we have to believe that he is the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah, right. You need to look like he could tear people in half. You know, cleave them in twain.
He needs to look like he's been pitching hay bales in the daytime and beating up jabronis in the nighttime.
He needs to look like he grinds the bones of his victims into bread.
And he doesn't have an automatic machine for that. He uses a hand crank.
Oh yeah, man. He's hand cranking that.
And if there's a couple pieces that won't break down on the hand crank, he pulls them out himself and he uses his bare hands and just.
I want to commission someone to do that. A painting of Brock Lesnar, you know, where he's on like the top of the hill of like skulls, and then like Sable is like holding onto his leg, you know, like because they're married. She's like,
they are
his leg. Yeah, did you not know? Did you know that?
I knew he was married to a person.
He's married to Rena Marrow, like Sable from back in the day.
Good for him.
Yeah. So have him like stand, you know, I want him to like be standing on this like pile of bones, and she's like has his leg, you know, and then like maybe Paul Heyman's like down like groveling underneath him. Like, this is a fucking cool idea for a painting, by the way.
If Paul Heyman's in it, I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
You should make Brie make that.
I'm gonna have her do that.
We would commission it. I would pay for it.
Okay, let's do it.
I need a green screen. That would be my green screen for here every time we do the show now.
Damn,
that's so. Wait, does that mean that Sable's a piece of shit though?
Maybe. I mean,
or does it just mean that Brock's not as bad as we think he is?
I don't know. Maybe he's different to his very, very, very small circle that he keeps.
Maybe you're probably right, because he does have a really small circle.
Just a tiny circle.
It's the only two people that like him. It's Sable and it's Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Paul Heyman likes him.
Yeah, that's a tough call. I don't know that. Paul Heyman works with him every single time.
But do you think I think Paul Heyman's probably actually cool outside of.
Yeah, there's actually it was one of those old WWE documentaries. There's one about Paul Heyman. He seems awesome. Dude, the dude got started in the business when he was like 12. He like went and bought a camera and started going to shows and taking pictures, and then he like published his own magazine. He was 12.
That's insane. I've heard the guy knows everything. I've heard like if you're new in the business, like he's the guy to go bug and like learn the ropes.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like he's been around it since he was just a kid.
If there's a documentary on him, I need to watch it.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's really good. It's probably on Peacock now, actually, because I think they bring over the documentaries from the network.
They brought over everything.
Oh yeah, it's really good
too.
I think it's My Name is Paul Heyman. This is what it's called.
Oh, I'm on board.
Yeah,
I'm always on board for a good doc anyway.
But it also talks about when he was like Paulie Dangerously, like back in the day. Like it goes through all of his ECW years too, which he was fucking insane. He was insane.
That's what I've heard.
Insane. But he's also like You could tell he's so smart, but he's nuts, dude. Just how he,
Well, he's a little goblin, man.
yeah, he's like a little goblin. He's insane in that he's like naturally smart, like how he went into like all of it, like promotion and all that stuff, and like started his magazine, and
He created a path for himself.
yeah,
And people that do that, people that create a path for themselves in any job,
yeah.
people that build their own path are smart motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Like,
it's incredible.
But he also reminds me of the Goblin King from The Hobbit. So
He is also the Goblin King from the Hobbit movie, though. Yes.
So he needs to be careful because we know what happened to him. So
one of the greater scenes of those prequels, actually.
Yeah, because they're not super good movies.
They're not great. But
the middle one's the best, though.
I actually do enjoy the middle one, and even the first one's okay.
The third one's what's not good.
I could skip it completely.
Yeah, you can just not watch it.
If I was going to watch, real quick before we get off here, if I was going to do a Lord of the Rings marathon and I wanted to include The Hobbit, I would do The Hobbit Part 1 and Part 2, and then I would just skip.
And then watch the 3.
And then I would just go to like Fellowship of the Ring. Just skip the third Hobbit because you don't really need it. It's also super sad. Like it sucks. Like Thorin Oakenshield dies. The freaking like one of those twins dies.
Philly dies.
Yeah.
And Killy's so bummed.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had to pick a trilogy though.
Okay.
Is Lord of the Rings that trilogy? If you had to say any trilogy is the best trilogy.
I'd probably still lean Star Wars, maybe. But
The original 3?
I don't know. I guess I've what's funny is I would say the original 3 Star Wars used to be my all-time favorite. Like that's the ones I would go with. But now I think I've been so oversaturated with Star Wars that I probably wouldn't go Star Wars now, and maybe would lean more.
All of the saturation. I was going to say the first 3 Transformers movies, by the way.
Also, I do like those movies, though.
I like the first one.
They are bad.
I like the first one.
They are bad. The first one is the best of them. The second one is the best fight scenes of the first 3.
So good.
So good.
It's good. There was just such a huge jump in CGI between the first and second. The second one, they were able to do the outside stuff better.
Yeah, looks real. I mean,
in the daytime, it holds up. So I think you're right. Star Wars got ruined because
too much.
There's too much of it. Lord of the Rings is about to be the same way, though. They're going to make all these spin-off TV shows.
Yeah, I did see that. That does worry me. But I have recently rewatched the Fellowship, like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think we all did about the same time.
Yeah, God, they're so good.
And here's my argument for Lord of the Rings, and I will make this the one time, but because I do know people that rewatch Star Wars every year, but for me, I could rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy and even throw in The Hobbit. I could rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy every single year for the rest of my life, like how I do with The Office.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that with Star Wars.
I feel fair with that because I
wouldn't binge the Star Wars ones. If I start the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I'm done by the end of the weekend. If I start Star Wars, I might watch one this week, one next week, one the week after. Not the same.
Yep. I will the only reason why I don't watch Lord of the Rings more is because I will watch all of them in pretty close succession. And so that's a time commitment.
So there it is. And I just had to know.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
I also thought you might have thrown like a trilogy that I wasn't thinking of out there, but
okay, I'm not gonna throw a trilogy in there. I'm gonna throw something newer in
saga?
there. Something it's a saga, but it's only one movie.
Oh.
But right now I am still into the Snyder cut of Justice League.
It is supposed to be a trilogy, though.
And it is. Technically it is, right? It's Man of Steel,
Batman vs.
Superman, Justice League. So, if you isolate those 3 movies together, it is a trilogy.
But
I think they wanted to do 3 Justice League movies.
Well, I think what it was supposed to be is Batman versus Superman, Justice League 1, Justice League 2.
Yeah,
And then
realistic. Yeah,
the Batman, like
Yeah.
the Ben Affleck older
yeah. The
Red Hood, because dude, that Jared Leto extra scene.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah,
watched that one part?
Oh yeah,
That is so good.
yeah. He was going to do. I know that he was going to do Under the Red Hood also.
Yeah,
Like that was the storyline they said. They set it up in Batman versus Superman too. Also,
so now it's being discussed as a HBO series.
I've seen some stuff about that too, like that they're looking at expanding on some of the specifically Snyder Batman stuff and just going HBO instead with it.
I'd watch it.
I absolutely would watch it. I do not need to see those movies in theaters. I'm absolutely fine with doing everything on HBO.
The Snyder cut at home. That's the only way I want to watch a 4-hour movie, man. I would not have gone to a theater. I would have never watched it until it came out.
I think it's 4 hours long, and it took us probably 5.
And you've rewatched it like 3 times, right?
I have rewatched it, yeah. Well, I rewatched it strong. I've rewatched it one entire time all the way through. And then I've watched it several other times, but like it's bits and pieces. So the last week of school, I showed it. We watched it over like 3 days, just for
That's
like
so awesome.
Yeah, because it was like they're getting caught up on stuff. So I was like, dude, let's watch Justice League or the new Justice League. It'll be awesome. So we watched that, or I've watched it while I'm playing a video game. I'll have it just on, but I have watched it twice, like all the way through. I did it the first time with my wife, and then I did the second time. My wife. The second time I did the way Sean did. I think Sean's done it too. I watched Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, then I watched the movie.
It makes me
over like the course.
I love Man of Steel, but it makes me dislike Batman versus Superman as much as I did. I actually kind of like it because I know what it leads into.
Yeah, it's better now. It does enhance that movie.
But I still was disappointed.
It is still disappointing. I still don't think it's as bad as what a lot of people said, though. I still liked. I mean, nothing's perfect, right?
It's not Aquaman bad.
No, although Aquaman's fun. Actually, I think
the sequel is going to be good.
I do too. I think a lot of sequels are going to be good. I think Venom 2 is going to be good. I think
it'd be so good.
I think Aquaman 2 is going to be good. I think, shoot, I was just thinking, Shazam. I think the Shazam 2.
I didn't watch Shazam, and I'm not gonna.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
Really?
I liked it.
I'm not gonna watch it.
It's silly and it's stupid, but it was fun.
He's a kid who turns into an adult superhero.
Yep.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, messed up.
Does he like bang chicks though?
No.
That'd be a twist.
Black Adam's coming out though.
The Rock?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, I might not watch it. I'll tell the previews to make a decision on that one.
Listen, look. I know The Rock's cool. I get it. I'm a pretty cool guy too, but
yeah,
I'm not gonna watch anything The Rock is in.
No,
ever. I heard Jumanji's good. I'm not gonna watch it.
Jumanji is really fun. I'll tell you what. If you're going to watch anything that he is in, definitely watch Jumanji.
Is Kevin Hart bearable?
Kevin Hart is the least funny part of the movie, but he
always is.
He is bearable in this, though. He's my least favorite part of the movie. He is bearable. Jack Black, though, I think actually steals the whole.
I'm in then. Then I'm in. If he's back,
JB, man,
if JB's back, then I'm in.
Oh yeah, he's so good. And I haven't seen the second Jumanji yet, but the first one's good. And
they're making the freaking Riverboat movie now with him too.
They are, yeah. I've gone the opposite with you on The Rock, though. I've watched nearly every movie that he's in, with the exception of any of the Fast and the Furious movies, because I will not watch those movies. I watched Fast and the Furious 1, 2, and 3, and I'm not watching any more Fast and the Furious movies.
The thing, okay, I know this has been played out already. 1 and 2 are normal fucking movies with realistic stuff happening. They're just heist movies. And then all of a sudden, they're jumping cars off of 45-story buildings, and it's Transformers. It's literally, they're doing the kinds of things that they do in Transformers movies. I haven't watched one since 5, but I've seen clips and
Oh yeah, I
parts.
know what happens in them too. I know enough about the culture at this point because it's like a whole thing, right? Like it's a whole thing that people kept watching. I mean, the fact they're doing more movies after Paul Walker dies, dude. He's the main dude in the movies.
Yep.
And he's passed away, and now they're still doing a movie. Like, I mean, granted, I don't know anything that's happened to his character since the second one because he's not even in the third Fast and the Furious movie.
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, the last Fast and the Furious movie
I watched it.
The last one I watched was Tokyo Drift, where he is not in it. And they're supposed to be in high school where they all look like they are 30 years old.
I won't watch the Rock movies because he did that freaking like San Andreas Fault movie. And,
that movie's bad.
And he did that. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of you taking my money. And I know you know what you're doing. And I know you're better than this. And I'm not okay with it, The Rock.
He kind of did it a tiny, teeny bit with Rampage as well.
A tiny, teeny bit? Isn't that movie dog shit?
It's the movie itself it's not good. It's fine. I mean, it's kind of a kid's movie, honestly. It's it's based on a super old video, like a teenage kid would like it probably.
Right. Because they're idiots.
Oh, it's no San Andreas. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
That's
bad.
Cool. It's about.
That's a good way to end it, man. Let's end it on a high note, which is the movie San Andreas.
It's pretty cool. All right, everybody, have a great day. Have a good weekend. Enjoy sports, and if you're in the area, stay inside. It's real smoky. All right.
Oh yeah.
Super
you guys got the bad shit up there.
Asoka is on fire and Waha is on fire.
Everyone needs to stay indoors, stay safe.
Get inside.
Quit lighting off fireworks.
Quit lighting fireworks.
Quit. You should have never done it in the first place.
Before you do something, think, can this start a fire? And then don't do that thing.
If the answer is possibly, then don't do it.
Then don't do it at all. If it's even a 1% chance you will set something on fire by doing that thing, don't do it.
And not only just don't do it for the rest of your life. Like in 30 years from now, don't do it.
Yeah, just keep doing it.
Stop doing things.
All right, everybody, have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.